Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special webinar series on CENTA Teaching Professionals Olympiad, also known as TPO. This will be happening every Monday, focused on CENTA International Teaching Professionals Olympiad. Today is the 15th webinar of the series on decoding CENTA International TPO co-curricular track. This is the first time we are having this track in the TPO, so it will be very interesting to see how it goes. My name is Shruti. I am the manager for learning products at Center for Teacher Accreditation, CENTA, and will be your main facilitator for today, for the next 1 hour. I can see in the chat that many of you have joined us from different parts of the country and also few maybe apart from India. I can see someone from Macedonia. So would be great if you share your name. I can see that people are sharing their name, their school name, and which city they're joining us from. So good evening, Abha ma'am. Good evening, Mare ma'am from Macedonia. Good evening, Pallavi from Pune. Good evening, Nidhi ma'am from Sacred Heart School, Senior Secondary School, Chandigarh. Good evening, Hema Gupta ma'am from Central Academy, Barautu, Ranchi. Good evening, Jenilyn from Philippines. Nice to see you. Good evening, Sapna Parekh ma'am from Ahmedabad. Good evening, Babita ma'am from Bangalore. Good evening, Mamta Maheshwari ma'am from Jaipur. Please do share your school name as well. Anshu ma'am from Hardyal Public School, Bahadurgarh. Shweta ma'am from Shikhar Academy, Mumbai. Shikha Academy, sorry. Great, great. Please continue sharing on the comments section. Very, very happy to see so many of you joining us today from India and abroad as well. So let's get started with today's webinar. We started 2 minutes late because we were still waiting for many of you to join. So very happy to see all of you here now. So let's get started with today's webinar. So like I mentioned, today's CENTA TPO webinar is on co-curricular track, which is the first time we're even doing this track. So it makes sense that we have this webinar to discuss more about what this track really entails and how it will look like for the teachers attempting. But before that, let's talk a little bit about the CENTA International TPO itself. So as many of you might know, the first edition of the CENTA TPO was in 2015, and we are proud to be hosting the 8th edition of the CENTA International TPO this year in the 8th year of CENTA's existence. The CENTA TPO was started because CENTA is fundamentally about creating reward, recognition, and career growth and opportunities for teachers. However, when you look at a teacher's career, right, opportunities, reward, etc., happens over a long period of time, and it's not something that happens immediately, right? Which is why we came up with the CENTA TPO, which will lead to immediate rewards and recognition for competent teachers. And it is an annual competition. The CENTA TPO is an annual competition where teachers can compete in a large-scale forum and showcase their competencies and get rewarded immediately for the same. We have been fortunate over the years to have distinguished partners like Reliance Foundation and Education World and many others who have supported us and provided rewards and recognitions for the winning teachers. In today's webinar, we will be covering the following. Overview of the CENTA International TPO, just a little bit about how CENTA TPO has evolved over the years. Details of the prelims, the format, mark scheme, and the competencies, keeping the co-curricular track in mind. Unpack CENTA TPO co-curricular track by looking at sample questions. So we're going to be going through sample questions across the two parts of the TPO prelims, and we will be doing this in a very interactive manner. And then also a little bit about how to prepare for the CENTA International TPO. So let's talk a little bit about TPO's history, how it's evolved over the years. So in 2015 is the first year of the CENTA International TPO, and at that time it was only in 7 cities. Cut to 2019, just 4 years later, right? From 7 to 75 cities in 2 countries. And today, I'm very, very proud to say that this year we are fully online and international. In 2015, the CENTA TPO there were only 9 subject tracks. So across 9 subjects, the TPO was happening, and the teachers for these tracks could register. Or if you were interested in any other track, in any of these 9 tracks, even though you were another subject teacher, you could register. Cut to now, this year we have 30 extra tracks compared to 2015 this year. And some of the new tracks, including the co-curricular track, but other than that, we also have the primary school EVS, a lot of Hindi language tracks and co-curricular, like I said, and much more. From 2015 to 2020, the TPO only consisted of multiple choice questions or MCQs. 2021 onwards, we realized the importance of having a video component, especially in a career or profession like teaching, right? It's so important to be able to get that live or at least recorded view of what a teacher's teaching delivery and competencies look like, which is why 2021 onwards, there's MCQs, but there's also a video component to the CENTA TPO. So, in a nutshell, the CENTA International TPO is fully online, has 2 stages: the prelims, which is happening now, the next few slots are going on now. There is one more slot in Feb and 2 more slots in March. My colleague can share details in the comments for anybody who wants to know what the next few slots are. And the toppers will be invited to the finals, which will be happening towards the end of April. It is international this time, so people across the world can participate. Since it's fully online as well, that kind of solves the boundaries, right? There's no boundaries anymore. And it's overall a 2-hour test for the prelims, 50 MCQ questions, 2 short videos that have to be recorded live and submitted. I will talk a little bit more about how this works out and in the context of the co-curricular track as well. Okay, so that's a little bit about an overview of the TPO or the Teaching Professionals Olympiad. Now let's come to the format of the TPO, especially the co-curricular track, the format of which is a bit different compared to the regular TPO tracks, right? So the TPO prelims, in the co-curricular track, the TPO prelims has only 20 MCQ questions, 2 videos, and is for a total of 55 marks. The regular other TPO tracks of 100 marks. This is only for 55 marks with 20 MCQ questions and 2 videos. Now the split of the prelims is standard across tracks. There is a multiple choice questions section and there is a verbal communication test, both happening on 2 separate days. So the multiple choice question is 20 questions for 30 marks. Verbal communication test is 2 questions for 25 marks. Let's look at what further split is there between the within the MCQ and within the verbal communication test. So in the multiple choice questions test, basically you will be mainly tested for 2 competencies, which is number 1, pedagogy. There are 11 questions for 18 marks, and communication, 8 questions for 12 marks. So this is pedagogy, which is general pedagogy and general communication skills. And in the verbal communication test, there's 2 videos that have to be recorded live. How that happens, I will come to shortly. There's video 1, which is a subject-specific verbal evaluation, and video 2, which is subject-agnostic verbal evaluation. By subject-specific, we mean the co-curricular that you teach in your school. Specific to that subject, the verbal evaluation will be based on that subject. And video 2 is, of course, it's agnostic to subject. It is a general evaluation of your verbal communication skills and not specific to any subject. We will be looking at sample questions for these 2 videos also. So please, stay tuned and please stay on the webinar and you'll come to know slowly as and when we continue. Now that we are done with the format, just a short, quick snapshot of, just to give you a flavor of what the prelims will really look like. So, of course, the multiple choice paper There has been a short typo. I'm sorry, it's not 50 questions, it's 20 questions for 30 marks. So you can see that pedagogy is 11 questions for 18 marks, communication is 8 questions for 12 marks. And this is how the platform looks like. The multiple choice test happens on AON, which is the platform where the MCQ test happens. So you can see that the sections are clearly given, right? Pedagogy, communication, each of your sections you can attempt, and you can see that the questions are, you can easily shift between questions, you can move between questions, and you can take it up, and the timer clearly indicates how much time you have left. Coming to the verbal communication test, like I said, there are two questions for 30 minutes, right? Overall, it's 30 minutes, though the verbal communication test itself is for 20 minutes, considering you entering the meeting, leaving, etc., all of that considered, we are giving a buffer of 10 minutes, so overall it takes around approximately 30 minutes. And this happens on Zoom. So how it happens is, after your MCQ test, like I said, this happens on two different days, right? After you are done with your MCQ test, you will receive an email from team@centa.org asking for which co-curricular track do you teach in your school. So the MCQ test is common for all co-curricular tracks. So if you're home science or your physical education or you teach music or dance, all of you will take the same co-curricular MCQ test, and the component, the nuance of your own track comes in the verbal communication test. So you will be asked to inform which co-curricular you teach. Is it physical education? Is it home science? Is it dance, music? Is it something else? You need to specify which co-curricular you teach in your school. And then your verbal communication test will be customized or tailor-made according to your specific co-curricular. So that's how the verbal communication test will happen for the co-curricular tracks. So that's about the general format and the split of marks and how the TPO even looks like and the look and feel of it for all of you. Now let me digress a little bit and talk about our partners. So let me move on to, like I said, the partners of this year's CENTA TPO. Our partners so far are Reliance Foundation, which is the presenter of this initiative in association with Education World. Reliance Foundation and Education World are our primary partners. We also have additional partners, as you can see on the screen, very, very distinguished, reputed partners like the University of Buckingham, University of California, Santa Cruz, Oxford University Press, Teach for India Online, Tag Hive, Inspirit, Think Startup, Bharti Foundation, TIS, Wisdom Circle, and Key Education Foundation, to name a few. Now, all the partners bring many interesting prizes and rewards, some of which are listed in the screen. The Reliance Foundation Teacher Awards are given every year to the winners of the CENTA TPO, which are cash awards worth rupees 20 lakhs. I do want to inform that this award is mainly and only for the India-based participants. So the international participants would not be eligible for this award. It is for the Indian teachers participating from India. The other awards are open to everyone, and it's very subject specific or track specific, which I'll mention right now. So other awards, like I said, are open to everyone. We also have premium training opportunities from Oxford University Press, University of Buckingham, University of California, Santa Cruz, to name a few. OUP, which is Oxford University Press, has training programs affiliated with the Oxford University. University of Buckingham has projects where winners will get the opportunity to be mentored on a short research project by professors, along with a certificate of teaching excellence. University of California, Santa Cruz is offering curated trainings and enrollment into their summer program happening in California. So you'll actually get to travel to California and take the program there. Inspirit is providing access to a one-of-a-kind software suite, which is a 3D and VR toolkit for science toppers. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different professional development and growth opportunities that have been included in the prices this year. So also I do want to mention that Tata Institute of Social Science has exclusive opportunities for toppers from B.Ed colleges. So like I said, it can be track specific or it can be segment specific, right? Government school teachers have a set of their own awards. rest of the teachers, private school, etc., own awards. B.Ed college students, participants from B.Ed colleges have a own set of rewards, etc. So coming to education world, they will be providing media recognition for winning teachers and the schools with the maximum number of winners. So there will be releases and there will be media recognition in education world's network across the country, right, and the world. Also, I do want to highlight that winners will receive a digital badge, certificate, and a fully confidential scorecard. So, unless you have registered on behalf of your institution, which is your institution is paying for you, right? Or they are paying for, or on their behalf, you have registered, they are either funding it or paying for it. Your scorecard, only then your scorecard is accessible to them. Otherwise, if you as a teacher yourself are paying for the CENTA International TPO and participating in it, then your scorecard is going to be fully confidential and personal, only to you. It is up to you if you want to share it to anyone and you want to discuss your report with anyone. It's totally up to you. Of course, the toppers will be highlighted. But if you are worried or feel like, I don't want my marks to go out, this is just something I'm doing for myself, please be rest assured, don't worry, it will not be shared with anyone other than you. And of course, CENTA will be having access to the data. That's about it. So, yeah, in a nutshell, this is what CENTA TPO is all about, right? To reward, recognize, and celebrate the teaching profession. We are very thankful that a large number of partners, be it corporate, government, so several governments work, we are associated with several governments today. Legends like Brian Lara or Harvard professor Fernando Reimers have been supporting this initiative over the years. Also for teachers, like many of you who have been participating year after year and also welcoming and inviting other teachers in your networks to participate in this competition to gauge themselves, to understand where they stand, to reflect for themselves. So very grateful for all of you as well. Very grateful for the support and grateful that we are able to bring this to the teaching profession. So, on that note, let's quickly move to the very interesting part of today's webinar, which is the sample questions. And which sample questions are we going to be discussing today? The co-curricular track, like I mentioned. So, like I said, this is the very first webinar that we're doing for co-curricular tracks because it's the very first time we have the co-curricular track in the CENTA TPO this year. So excited to get started and excited for all of you to take part in this segment of the webinar. So if you have any questions until now, whatever I have completed, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comment section. Either I will be taking it up towards the end of the webinar or my colleague will ensure you get responses to your questions. So please be rest assured and write to us. And if you feel like you did not get a response either from me or in the comments from the CENTA team, please write to us at team@centa.org. We will definitely come back with a response as soon as we can. Cool. So on that note, let's move on to the sample questions in the co-curricular track. So for this, most of you who have, been attending every webinar, you know the drill, you know what to do. Please go to menti.com, www.menti.com. If you're on your laptop, please open another browser, another tab, and please go to menti.com and enter this passcode. If you're on your phone, please open another browser window and enter these details, and please enter that passcode. And we will be doing this entire exercise on Mentimeter. So once you enter this, please wait for me to display the first question. I haven't presented it yet. So please wait for me to present the first question. So I would love to see some, like in the comments, some yeses that you've been able to do this. So once you're all ready, then we can get started with the sample questions. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be showing the question on the screen and you will have to answer on Mentimeter. So the question will also be visible on Mentimeter for you. You have to answer on Mentimeter. Then we will look at what all of you are answering and then I will come back and discuss what the correct answer is and why is it the correct answer. Okay, so this should give you that full insight of not just what kind of questions appear in the CENTA TPO for the co-curricular track, but also why is the correct answer correct? Why is the incorrect answer? Why are the incorrect answers incorrect? There's only one correct answer and 3 are incorrect, totally 4 options. So I'm hoping that many of you have been able to log on to menti.com and enter the passcode. So let me see some yeses. Okay, great. So let's get started then. So here's question one. Which of the following is least relevant as a feature of student centered learning? So the section is pedagogy. You saw in the TPO format that there are two sections in the MCQ, pedagogy and communication. This question belongs to the pedagogy section. Topic, content development and planning. Please note that this content development and planning, when we say it, it is not for a math, science, English, language track. It is for your co-curricular track. So this student-centered learning is applicable to any co-curricular track, be it you're teaching music, dance, art and craft, home science, physical education. This is important, right? So this, therefore, which is why the MCQ section is common for all the co-curricular teachers. It is the verbal communication or video evaluation test wherein we customize it based on your specific co-curricular track. Cool. So this is the question. Which of the following is the least relevant as a feature of student-centered learning? Is it A, it builds on the idea of constructivism? Is it B, teacher tailors instruction to individual students or a group of students as needed? Is it C, it's an approach that recognizes diversity of learners and their interests? Or is it option D, students have autonomy over learning paths and assessments? Which one do you think is the correct answer? So I'll be going to menti.com. So I can see that we're slowly getting some responses. 50% of the teachers are saying that students have autonomy over learning paths and assessments. 17% of the teachers, okay, rest of it is all 17%. Okay, now I can see that C is 25%. It's an approach that recognizes diversity of learners and their interests. Okay, I can see that D seems to be dominating. B and C are at the same path, and A is definitely the least preferred option. So I'll wait for another few responses and then let's look at what the correct answer is. Come on, waiting for few more responses. Go to menti.com and use this code 57859966. You can also find it in the comments section. Waiting for a few more responses. Okay, seems like we're stuck at this point. So maybe it's time to reveal what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is, and drum roll, it's D, which is basically, oh, it just reduced to 45%. But D is the correct answer, which is students have autonomy over learning paths and assessments. Now, why is this the correct answer? And why is C that many people are still preferring, right? Still picking not the correct answer? Let's check that out. So D is the correct answer, like we just discussed, because student-centered pedagogy means that the teaching methodology is based on the needs of the student. Basically, the student is at the center, right? However, this may be facilitated by the teacher with or without autonomy to the students on learning path assessments, which is an independent aspect, right? So students having autonomy over the learning path. It is student-centered pedagogy, but it does not mean that students have full autonomy over what's going to be taught. It's basically based on the needs of the student, what the teacher recognizing is the needs of the students. It is based on that, which is why D is the correct answer. It is the least relevant feature of student-centered learning. Now let's look at why the other three are incorrect, right? So A is incorrect because this learning theory and practice is the idea that learners use their prior experience to make sense of and derive meaning from new ideas, information presented to them. Thus, the constructivist approach is actually integral part of student-centered learning. It is based on the idea of constructivism. 2 is incorrect because the reason why a pedagogy is called student-centered is because the teacher takes into account learning profiles and the student needs, etc., and tailor makes instruction and plans of whatever she's planning to teach based on the student needs, right? Which is why this is actually the most incorrect, because this is exactly what student-centered learning is. C is incorrect because the reason why a pedagogy is called student-centered is because the teacher takes into account the learning profiles and needs of students while planning for instruction. And therefore, if she's taking these things into account, what is she doing? She or he is recognizing the diversity of learners, right? Which is why they're taking it into account. So therefore, A, B, and C are all relevant features of student-centered learning. D is least relevant, and they're very important to know that these are the kind of questions you can expect. What is most relevant, least relevant? We are not saying that D is fully incorrect, right? In some cases, in some teaching styles, teachers may want to give students some sort of autonomy over their learning path. But if you take student-centered learning as a concept in itself, out of the 4 that are given here, that would be the least relevant feature. So very important to keep that nuance in mind. Great. On that note, let's move on to MCQ 2. Once again, if you have not been able to log on to menti.com, or for anybody who's just joined the webinar, we're doing the sample questions. We're going through some questions that show that come up appear in the co-curricular track. So please go to menti.com and enter the passcode. If you're already on menti.com, please wait till I load the second question. But before that, you can watch the question on the screen itself. So again, this belongs to the pedagogy section. Considering we only have 2 sections in the test, we are going to look at multiple questions in these 2 sections. So in pedagogy, the previous one was related to content development and planning. This is related to student assessment and remediation. So the question is, which of the following statements made by 4 different teachers is most correct? So we saw a least relevant. Now let's look at a most correct question. A. Mr. Sinha, I am going to conduct a diagnostic assessment to find out which concepts taught in the previous year have been mastered by the students. B. Ms. Farheen, I am going to conduct a diagnostic assessment to find out what topics students would be most interested in learning today. C. Ms. Karen, I am going to conduct a diagnostic assessment for a scholarship at the end of the year. Or D. Mr. Tijinder, I always conduct a diagnostic assessment after a formative assessment to learn more about students' misconceptions. Which one do you think is the correct answer for this? Which of the following statements made by 4 teachers is most correct? So I'm going to go to the next question. So you should be able to see the next question now. Looking forward to some answers. So Mr. Sinha says, I am going to conduct a diagnostic assessment to find out which concepts taught in the previous year have been mastered by students. Ms. Farheen is going to conduct it to find out what topics students are most interested in learning today, that day. Ms. Karen wants to conduct a diagnostic assessment for a scholarship, to pick students for a scholarship at the end of the year. And Mr. Tejinder always conducts diagnostic after a formative to learn more about students' misconceptions. So we can slowly see responses coming in. We'll wait for a while. So I can see that majority of the teachers have picked A. Some are picking B and some D. We'll wait for more responses. A and B are on par with 40% each. C has 14. C and D are also on par with 14 and 14%. Okay, we'll wait a little bit more. So I can see that A and B are on par right now. Cool. C has the least percentage of votes, and D has 22%, which is coming in third. We'll wait for a few more seconds before I reveal what the correct answer is, just so that everybody gets the time to process the question. Look at the options and decide for themselves. The options are a bit longer, so I'll just wait for maybe another 3 to 4 seconds before we reveal what the correct answer is. Okay, so let's look at what the correct answer for this question is. Most of you got it right. So pat on your back, clap, clap, great job. So yes, A is the correct answer, which is Mr. Sinha saying he's going to conduct a diagnostic assessment to find out which concepts taught in the previous year have been mastered by students. But B has been a close second. Let's now see why is A the correct answer, why B is not correct, and of course why everything else is incorrect, right? So A is the correct answer because diagnostic assessment. So before I even move on to A, right, I'm sure all of you, or if you don't, definitely something to read up, but all of you must be knowing, or most of you must be knowing the different types of assessments. There are several types of assessments and for different reasons, right? So one of the type of assessment or category of assessment based on the purpose it serves is diagnostic, formative, summative. So these three are categorized mainly based on what purpose are you going to be using results of that assessment for. That's the category. So based on that category of what is your purpose of using this assessment, results of this assessment, we have mainly three types. We have more, but mainly they are diagnostic, formative, summative. Okay, so of course, let's look at what a diagnostic assessment is. A diagnostic test or assessment, as the name suggests, are used to diagnose, like how a doctor diagnoses patients' symptoms, or rather using patient symptoms diagnosis what the ailment or illness could be. A diagnostic test or assessment checks for student mastery of content previously taught to gauge their preparedness for an upcoming lesson. So that is exactly what the purpose of a diagnostic assessment is. So you see the purpose, it is to test what students have learned previously, how much of that do they remember, how much of that have they understood, how much of that do they know, so that I can use that information to inform and plan for my upcoming lesson accordingly. Correct? So which is why A is correct, right? Mr. Sinha has got it correct. He wants to conduct it to understand what was taught, have students mastered it, and what will he be using this for to, of course, plan his next few lessons based on this data. Correct? Okay, so then why are B, C, and D incorrect? So B is incorrect because yes, it may seem like you need a diagnostic to understand what topic students would be most interested in learning. But do you really need a diagnostic assessment for that? Can't that just happen with a simple show of hands or like a simple poll or like using sticky notes or asking students to share in verbally, cold calling and asking them? This can just be done as a culture practice in the classroom. You don't need to do a diagnostic assessment. You don't need to analyze it in any way to know what topics they're interested in studying or learning, right? So, which is why B, though in principle, if you see the purpose, it is to know, it is to get information about what to do next. It is not the most correct answer of why I would use a diagnostic assessment. It's not the most relevant purpose of a diagnostic assessment. So C and D are of course fully incorrect. So C is incorrect because what do we use to identify which students deserve a scholarship at the end of the year? What do we use for that? Do we use diagnostic? No, we use summative assessments for that, which are basically the entire purpose of summative assessments, the semester end exams, the final exams that students write. Main purpose of that is to either pass students or fail students, that basically promote or demote students to next grade, stay in the same grade, to use it for a scholarship, to for an annual competition. Basically there's a result or there is a consequence associated with summative assessments. With diagnostic, students are not don't have to pay the price or don't have to do anything as a result of it. In summative, that's something we either use it to in for something like a scholarship, like a reward, award, competition, to promote them to the next grade, etc., or to give a report to parents that students need these are the areas of improvement to keep them in the same class, you need remediation, etc. So basically it is all related to associated with the result. That is what summative does, which is why Miss Karen has got it fully wrong, right? She's supposed to do a summative assessment for a scholarship, not a diagnostic. What about D? D is incorrect because formative assessments themselves are meant to reveal students' misconception. Conducting a diagnostic after a formative shows misunderstanding of both diagnostic and formative. So Mr. Tejinder has not fully understood the purpose of either formative or diagnostic. So which is why D is incorrect. Great. Let's move on to the next question. Once again, for those who have newly joined or just joined the webinar, please go to menti.com, enter the passcode in a separate tab or browser window. For the rest of you, please be patient. I'm going to be showing the next question in just a few minutes. Before that, I'm just going to show it on the screen for your reference. So here's the next question. So this is again belonging to the pedagogy section, and it is on content development and planning. So please don't consider subject specific pedagogy same as pedagogy. So it is the section which is the pedagogy section, and the topic is content development and planning. Mr. Gopal wants to develop critical thinking skills in his students. Which of the following strategies would help him achieve this? A. Allowing students to work through productive struggle by not providing immediate assistance. B. Asking students close-ended questions in as a hook before beginning, as in a hook before beginning the class. Providing students with regular support and feedback on their work and allowing them to make modifications. Demonstrating a live experiment followed by instructing students to take notes and reproduce it. Which of the following strategies do you think would help Mr. Gopal develop critical thinking skills in his students? So, you can see the question on your screens now. Please go ahead and take a crack at this. Try answering this, and then we'll see what the correct answer is. So there's no most or least here. So there's one correct answer without any range or spectrum of, this is least, most, in between, none of that. Okay, I can see that C seems to have 75% of the votes. 75% of the people have voted for C, providing students with regular support and feedback on their work and allowing them to make modifications. 20% say D, demonstrating a live experiment, followed by instructing students to take notes and reproduce it. 13% seem to say A, allowing students to work through productive struggle by not providing immediate assistance. And nobody has picked option B, which is asking students close-ended questions as a hook before beginning the class. We'll wait for a few more seconds or maybe 1 minute. B is still at a 0. So 18% have picked A, 55 have picked C, and 23% have picked D. So let's see what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is unfortunately not C, but A. So congrats to the teachers who have picked A. You have understood critical thinking skills correctly. I will now debrief and discuss why A is the correct answer and not C. So like I said, A is the correct answer. So what is critical thinking skills really? Right? So critical thinking skills is students being able to solve problems independently. It very closely links to constructivism about what students have learned earlier and how they are able to apply themselves to any scenario, right? So that is basically in a nutshell critical thinking skills. And if you look at option A, this will allow students to develop critical thinking skills because it provides them with independence, wherein they can create tasks and solve problems on their own. So, critical thinking is when students are posed with a problem, they're able to come up with solutions by themselves, and even if not, they push themselves. They are using their creativity, collaboration, communication skills, basically the 21st century skills, right? To be able to actually come up with solutions for different problems. And if not, they are going to what we call productive struggle, is they're going to push themselves, stretch themselves beyond what they think is the standard, what is the standard norm, right? And they're going to push themselves to figure out the solution rather than us coming in and providing immediate assistance, which is like us spoon feeding them with answers. That is not what critical thinking, or that is not the right way to actually build critical thinking, right? So it's like when students are playing with Lego blocks, they themselves have to figure out at a very young age, these are small ways to actually build critical thinking skills. They should figure out how to do it themselves, and we don't pitch in, right? Okay, now why is B, C, and D incorrect then? B is incorrect because since students have to choose from a given set of options, it is not critical thinking. It does not encourage critical thinking at all. That to closed-end questions are basically a yes or no, true or false, basically, yeah, those right or wrong, these are the kind of questions which are close ended or just have one word responses usually to it. So close ended questions do not encourage analysis of facts to form a judgment, hence they do not encourage critical thinking. So that is fully incorrect, right? What about C? So most of you picked C as the correct answer, but that is unfortunately incorrect because this is a didactic approach to learning. Right? This is like direct instruction. It's didactic, wherein the information is presented. Teacher presents information to students without allowing for critical thinking. Critical thinking on the skills, on the other hand, are exploratory in nature, where students need to make their own judgments by analyzing situations. The teacher is not providing too much support or feedback on work. Of course, that's a very good practice. We are not saying that's not good, but that's not going to help build critical thinking skills as such, because you are supporting them, you are hand holding them a little bit, so it's not going to really encourage building critical thinking skills. And why is D incorrect? This will only improve observational skills and conceptual understanding of the topic because you have demonstrated something live and then instructing students to take note and reproduce it. But it's not going to develop critical thinking skills. Choosing this option suggests a misunderstanding of what critical thinking itself is, while choosing C is a misunderstanding that critical thinking skill is basically whatever is a good practice in the classroom. No, that's not what it means. It's basically to provide students with independence and let them be and see what they are able to do on their own independently. We can of course structure how that happens, but and facilitate their entire experience, but we cannot give them regular support, feedback, and then basically curb the from them from thinking beyond what their current capability is. So which is why A is the correct answer, not B, C, or D. Okay, let's move on to the last two questions. Next question. Same drill, menti.com, this code. If you haven't signed up yet, if you are already there, please wait till I display the next question. Meanwhile, let's move on to two questions on communication now. So we did three questions from the pedagogy section. Let's look at two questions from the communication section. So here's a question. Using extra words is a common aspect of poor language. Identify the sentence where a particular word is definitely redundant. So we're looking at redundant words right now. We also call them crutch words. A, they ended up duplicating their work twice over. B, they tried twice and made exactly the same mistake. C, never ever was such a mistake made in duplication. D, they made errors in duplications far too many times. So this is a basic written verbal communication question. Topic is sentence construction. So there is one of the sentences here where a particular word is redundant. So it's a poor construction of a sentence. So identify which sentence that is. Waiting for some responses. I can see teachers are really thinking this through. Great job. I'll wait for some responses. Okay. I can see that we have started getting some responses. The first option that's opened its quota is option A. Waiting for a few more responses. I can see B being picked, D being picked, okay? Think about extra words in a sentence. Where do you think a word has been used that is not actually required? Even if you remove that word, meaning of the sentence does not change at all. So that is how you need to think about this question. Okay, I can see that A has 63%, B has 25%, C has 0%, D has 13%. A seems to have 70% of the votes, B 20%, C 0, and D 10%. Very, very interesting. Let's look at what the correct answer is. It is in fact C. C is the correct answer. Nobody has picked C. So let's look at why is that the correct answer. So C is the correct answer. C is correct because even though it looks like the word ever seems to add a lot of value here, it is actually a redundant word. Removing the word ever and rewriting the sentence as never was such a mistake made in duplication does not change its meaning. You may say that the ever adds emphasis, right? But in fact, it is only used colloquially, which means verbally we use it when we are talking for emphasis. But in fact, in a written sentence, it is an example of redundant usage. So C is the correct answer. Let's look at why A, which most of you picked, is incorrect, right? This is incorrect because there is no redundant word here in the sentence. I'm sure most of you thought they ended up duplicating their work twice over. Twice over could be the redundant word, but it's in fact not. What this means is that they had to duplicate their work two times, not once. If I had told they ended up duplicating their work, what does that mean? That means they have duplicated their work once. But here they had to duplicate their work two times. So which means without twice over, the entire meaning of the sentence changes, correct? Which is why A is incorrect. B is incorrect because again there is no redundant word used in the sentence. If I remove they tried twice and made exactly the same mistake, any word I remove will change the sentence. Right? You may say that exactly could be redundant here and they tried twice and made the same mistake sounds like it makes still makes sense, but we're trying to say that they made the exact same mistake, so which is why it is important to have it there. D is incorrect because again there is no redundant word used here. They made errors in duplication far too many times. If I say just too many times, it doesn't indicate or emphasize that it was made just way too many times, right? So which is why C is the correct answer. Last question. So once again, you know the drill. Menti.com, passcode. If you're not there, if you're already there, please wait. I will be posting, or rather moving to the question in just a minute. So again, the last question is a communication question. It belongs to the topic grammar. So it's a grammar question in communication. Question is, a teacher wants to intimate the principal about a struggling student in her class. Which of the following is the grammatically correct way of expressing this concern? This student is not able to cope with the coursework. This student is not able in coping with the coursework. This student is not able to cope up with the coursework. This student is not able to cope up to the coursework. Which do you think is the correct answer? Please go ahead and answer the question. Teacher wants to intimate the principal about a struggling student in her class. Which of the following is the grammatically correct way of expressing this concern? A, the student is not able to cope with the coursework. The student is not able in coping with the coursework. B, C, the student is not able to cope up with the coursework. D, the student is not able to cope up to the coursework. I can see 20% saying option A. 60%, which is the majority, saying C, 20% saying option D. We'll wait for a few more seconds or 1 minute, and then we will look at what the correct answer is. 11%, 18% say A, 9% B, 50% C, and 25% say D. Okay, and the correct answer is A is the correct answer, which is the student is not able to cope with the coursework. Why is this correct? Why are the rest incorrect? Which is 50% have picked C, so let's just look at that. A is the correct answer because cope with is the right usage of the verb cope. This sentence is grammatically correct. Why is C, which most of you picked, incorrect? Because the word cope up is used instead of cope, right? Up is basically a redundant word here. Coming back to the previous concept, the word up is redundant and should ideally be omitted. Again, when we talk about it, we say you're not able to cope up, you need to cope up, but up actually is redundant usage. Verbally, it's okay, but in written grammar, we're not supposed to be using up. So it's close, but it's incorrect. B is incorrect because the word cope has the suffix ing, coping, making the sentence fully incorrect, like grammatically. So coping is the noun form of the word cope. D is incorrect because there is a mismatch in the tense used in this sentence. Sentence starts in continuous and changes to perfect tense, and also the student is not able to cope up to the coursework is wrong usage of the word to. So which is why 5 is incorrect. D is incorrect. Correct answer is A. So that's about the MCQs. Now let's just quickly move on to the verbal communication, right, which I told you is where the nuance of your specific track comes in. So the MCQ is going to be general. Everybody is going to be getting the same 20 questions. Or of course, difference in the sets, etc. But it will be similar. These are the two sections that will be there. You will have pedagogy and you will have communication. Now, what about the verbal communication test? So this, like I said, you will be asked to share which is your specific co-curricular track. Based on that, if it's physical education, music, fine arts, home science, whatever it is, right, your verbal communication test will be based on that. So the question here is choose any one of the following topics and introduce the concept as you would in a classroom by linking it first to something that students may already know, and then the actual concept, and finally their usage. So this is the question that a CENTA expert will be asking you. You'll be in a one-on-one interview kind of room, a breakout room with a CENTA expert. The CENTA expert will ask you this question and they'll give you options. Your options will be based on your track. Right now, I'm sharing one option from all the co-curricular tracks we offer. But in the actual exam, you will get 3 or 4 options. If you're a physical education teacher, all 3 options, you will get 3 options. All 3 options will be from physical education. You have to pick one topic. So for example, if I'm a music teacher, I'm picking time theory of ragas. You will have 2 more options as well. You can, out of the 3, pick one. For 5 minutes, you can prepare for that topic for this question. And then for 5 minutes, you need to present. So this is how the subject-specific verbal evaluation happens. Then coming to the subject agnostic one, which is agnostic of the subject. So everybody gets again the same common question, same 3 options. You have to pick any one, prepare for 5 minutes, present for 5 minutes. So the question is choose any one of the following topics and share your thoughts. So you can see the 3 topics. You have to pick one and share your thoughts. So this is the verbal communication section, which is overall 30 minutes, but in technically should take you 20 minutes, 5 minutes to prepare, 5 minutes to present, 5 minutes to prepare, 5 minutes to present for both the questions. So this in a nutshell is the sample questions, examples of sample questions that you can find in the test. But if you want more such resources, right, and you want to see more sample questions for your track, and also you want other resources to prepare for the CENTA TPO, International TPO, please visit the TPO resource page. So this page has sample questions across subjects, including the co-curricular track, live webinars, what are the webinars happening weekly, recorded webinars, past webinars, you can go ahead and watch it. Guides to prepare for the CENTA International TPO. There are guides, there are free resources, there are few paid resources as well, which will help you prepare. There is a curious corner where new resources are added every day. So please go ahead and access all of this, and there's like many more things that are going to be updated in this page, so please feel free to leverage this page. Stay tuned for more updates that are going to come to this page, but you can definitely find sample question across subjects in this page, right, for the co-curricular track. Now coming to the last section of the webinar, how to register for the CENTA International TPO. Very simple. It's a three-step process. Go to centa.org/TPO 2022. There you can see a register now button. Click on that button. You can fill the form. So it starts with asking for your basic details, your phone number. Once you put in your phone number, you get an OTP. You need to verify with the OTP, and then you can fill the rest of the details, like which subject track you're interested in, which slot you want to take the TPO in, and you just have to pay, and that's it, done, you've registered. So the cost of this is 990 plus GST, which is 990 rupees INR, 990 plus GST. The caveat being that you just have to pay for the prelims. This is the CENTA International TPO prelims. And if you do qualify for the finals, there is going to be no additional cost. You don't have to pay anything on top of the 990 plus GST you have already paid. I do come with exciting news though. So today we have a coupon code, which is TPO FEB13, which is available right now for the next 24 hours, which can even offer you a 10% discount on the TPO registration fee. So go ahead, avail this coupon code. So in the end of your registration form, you can see a section called coupon code. Enter a coupon code, valid coupon code. Please enter this coupon code for a 10% discount. So this is how you register for the CENTA International TPO. I'll keep this slide on for another minute. Any questions you have, please feel free to put it on the comments. And you can find this link on the comments section. Please click on it. Go ahead, pick your track, register, pay, use the coupon code without fail to get a 10% discount. And that's about it for today's webinar. Thank you so much for everybody who made time from their busy schedules and joined us in today's webinar. Hope you had a good time. Hope you are leaving this webinar knowing more about the co-curricular track, having a bit more clarity, and feeling like registering for the TPO if you haven't already, and if you have, feeling like you're all prepared and geared up to take up the test. So good luck to everyone. Have a great evening. Take care. Stay safe. See you again next week. Bye.